Good evening, Don Palayo checking in. Today is Monday, September 29th, 2025. Today is my brother's birthday. Um, had a pretty good day today. I am not feeling real well. Um, I've had little flares with gout every once in a while. My left knee is a little bit inflamed, and it's kind of making the rest of my body feel a little bit worn out too. And I'm kind of wondering if I'm starting to come down with something. I don't know. We will we will see. I'm not feeling real great. I'm getting ready to go to bed. I did want to mention, my last video I was talking about the escalating violence that's going on in our communities, and yesterday we had a lot more of it. Over the weekend we had in North Carolina, where I live, this was out on the coast of North Carolina. I live in the center part of the state, but out near the coast, we had some lunatic decided to just go out on a boat and shoot up a restaurant, a bar or something, and killed 3 people. They caught him, so hopefully he won't ever see the light of day again. And in Michigan, I guess you guys probably heard about the guy that drove his truck into a Mormon church and then got out of the truck and began shooting people in the church. I don't know what's wrong with everybody. What is it? Is it the financial stress that people are under? Is it, what is it? What's the deal? It just seems like there's some screwed up people out here. This guy seems to have been a Trump supporter, but he hated Mormons. It seems like he had a thing against Mormons. I don't know if there was some personal beef with a Mormon that he had. Many of you might know I grew up Mormon. I was raised in the Mormon church. Mormons are pretty chill people for the most part. For the most part, I don't know how many Mormons you know, but most Mormons are very friendly people. I don't know what this guy's deal was, but he had I think he had a wife and a child, and I'm just sitting here thinking his hate for the Mormon church, for the Mormon people, was greater than his love for his kid. And it's just like, you have to think about your children. It's like you got a child at home. It's like, what's going on with you, I just don't understand these people. I don't understand this level of evil. What causes people to go out and do something like this? It just doesn't make any sense most of the time. And you realize that once you do something like this, you're throwing your own life away. Is it really worth it? Is it really worth throwing your whole life away over this? But people, they think about this for a long time. It's not something they just do just spur the moment. Typically they've been, a lot of times, this guy, I think he was planning this for a while. It's like, his hate was just so intense that he decided to go and do something like this. So we have a lot of nut jobs out here in the country these days. People that got some real mental and emotional problems. They need to be seeking help instead of doing something like this. Most church-going people, for the most part, are pretty friendly people. I don't know how many Mormons you guys know, but I grew up in the Mormon church, and some of my best friends, were from my time growing up as a teenager in the Mormon church. I served a mission for the Mormon church in Spain, and that's what drew my interest to Spain. And I really enjoyed that time of my life. And I don't have a lot of negative things to say about the church or its people, but some people I don't know. I can't imagine being angry enough, especially with church-going people, to want to go and do something like what this guy did. Both of these shooters, by the way, were former Marines. They were both military people, which makes me wonder if, is there something, is it this PTSD stuff? You hear about a lot of military people that commit suicide. the suicide rates among military people are pretty high. Maybe now they're deciding, instead of just taking themselves out, they want to go out in a blaze of glory and go, and while they're ending their own lives, they want to take a bunch of people with them. It is just, I don't know. I don't know. It's like everybody's going to have to be very careful out in public. These days, it's like it could, something could erupt at any moment, anywhere in the United States, and I kind of worry about where all this is headed. I am a supporter of the Second Amendment. I believe that it was the people were given that right so that they would have the power to push back against an authoritative government. That's the reason why we have the Second Amendment. If the government began to be, tyrannical, the people would have weaponry in order to, raise up arms against the government, and push back. And but we gotta figure out some way of keeping these guns out of these nut jobs' hands. It's like, but this guy, I mean, he had served in the Marine Corps. I mean, he had served in Iraq and had he had some medals that he won. So it's like, what set this guy off, and how do we figure out how to prevent that? And I don't know if there is an answer to it. It's just one of the consequences. It's one of the symptoms of the sick society that we're in right now. I think we're living in a society right now that doesn't really value human life as much as we used to. We're not as religious as we used to be. People used to believe that there would be eternal consequences for the decisions that they're making, and they no longer fear that. So I don't know. It's just a very sad time in the country. There's all this violence that we're dealing with. I think it would be beneficial if Trump held an Oval Office address and spoke to liberal America. I think he needs to do that. It's like, Trump is the type of person that wants to fight. And I understand him not being happy with his political enemies. But he has to remember that he's president of the United States of America, and that includes liberal America. He needs to have an Oval Office address where he extends an olive branch and says, look, I understand that people are hurting. I am doing everything I can do to try to improve the economic situation here in the United States. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to require some time and some, it's just going to require some time to see his policies taking effect. It's not going to happen he's been in office for 8 months? We should begin to start seeing evidence of whether his policies are going to bear fruit or not, at least before the midterms next year. So, anyway, I'm just really concerned about the way this country is going. Probably the most concerning thing that I've seen in the last couple of months, especially after Charlie Kirk's killing, that was really when I began to see it, was just how you've got all these people out here that are reveling in seeing their political enemies die. Or, it's like when Charlie Kirk was killed, it's like there are people out here celebrating his murder, basically, supporting the guy that did it. I mean, and it's not just him. You also had the whole Luigi Mangione thing with the healthcare CEO. There's a lot of Americans that feel like that was justified, and it's just absolutely not justified. I hope that guy gets locked up and doesn't ever see the light of day. But up there in New York, who knows? These liberals are halfway supportive of what he did. So I don't know. I don't know. America's lost its moral fiber. A large part of America has. Um, in that kind of situation, it's like there really is no excuse. There really isn't. Um, Americans need to be better than that, but that's where we are in 2025. So I'm glad I live where I live. I feel pretty safe and secure in central North Carolina. Sure, there are areas of my city where you don't typically want to visit. You don't want to. There are more rough parts of town that you want to try to stay out of, but even in those parts of town, I don't feel too terrible. It's like if at least driving through those parts of town, it could get worse. I do door dashing sometimes, and I've wound up being down there in that part of town before, delivering door dashes, and it's like I get out of my car and I'm like, okay, drop it and run, drop it and run. So you're just a little you are a little anxious going into those parts of town just because you know that there's just more violence that occurs in that area of town. So you don't want to stick around very long. So anyway, that's where we are in September of 2025. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this year goes. 2025 has been an interesting year. Trump's first year of his second term. I'm really hoping that we begin to see Trump's success is going to be determined by how people feel about their own personal economy. It's not going to be how high the stock market goes. It's not going to be based on how how many even on how well he does with the immigration situation. If the majority of Americans are hurting financially and are really strained, their budgets are very, very strained, it's going to be hard for the party in power to maintain power. Trump's already made it a little bit harder for people with the student loan thing, and I understand that these people took out loans and they should repay their loans, but it's just a fact that Trump's policies that way, and restarting payments for people, it just naturally is going to make people's budgets tighter. And if people don't, unless something improves there, it's going to make it harder for him in the midterms and then in 2028 when the Republicans run again. So I'm hoping people begin to feel a little bit better about their personal financial situations, but we're just going to have to see how all that plays out. It kind of feels like we're on the edge of a knife right now. It feels like all these countries are getting ready for war. Russia's doing more. China's preparing. America's trying to catch up a little bit. America's been kind of stupid over the last 5 or 10 years. It's like we make all this weaponry and then we give it away to other countries. It's like we need our own military stuff. We need to make sure that we're well stocked before we start helping other people. But it takes time to produce all this stuff. Anyway, that's where we are. You guys have a great evening. This is Don Pelayo checking out.